You want to make your fantasy sports league more than a fantasy? Then you need Trophy Smack. It's the #1 store for fantasy and tournament trophies, belts, draft boards, loser awards, and other ridiculous products. Trophy Smack is more than just a trophy company with outstanding customer service and products. It's the very essence and heart of every fantasy league. And if you click now, TrophySmack.com gives you free shipping, a free loser poster, and can have the hardware to you in a few days. Bragging rights included. Go to TrophySmack.com right now and take your fantasy league to the next level.
What's up, and welcome to the Dynasty Happy Hour with your hosts, Doug Eddy, Tim Keller, and Tyler Gunther. Bring us all inside the huddle. Whether it's in-season or off-season, this is your spot for the best and in-depth Dynasty fantasy football advice. So let's not waste any more time and get right to it with Doug, Tim, and Tyler with another Dynasty Happy Hour.
Welcome back to the Dynasty Happy Hour, presented by Fantasy Points Media Group. Make sure you go on fantasypoints.com. Little known fact, well, if you listen to this podcast, you probably know that 90% of subscribers to fantasypoints.com made the playoffs last year. Last time I checked, 90%, pretty good. I'm just saying. So
in this case, yes.
Yes, in this case, it is a proven commodity in the fantasy industry. So if you follow people, like some guys we've heard of, Graham Barfield, for instance, Scott Barrett, lots of awesome podcasts in the network as well. There is free content on the website. But you can also subscribe. And like I said, if you want to make your fantasy playoffs, go on fantasypoints.com. Use code DHH21, DHH10. Is that what it is, Tyler?
There it is.
Yes, sir. There it is.
I'm operating without a show sheet. It's tricky for me. I'm like Ron Burgundy. If it's on the teleprompter, I'm going to read it. When I don't have a teleprompter, I'm trying to do it off the top of my head. So it can be a little...
Go screw yourself, San Diego.
The Silver Surfer was denied a banknote. Your poop mouth, Ron.
If I give you money out of my pocket, would
does that make it okay? The little kid, hey, Ron Burgundy. Anywho, so we are here this week to follow up our divisional series from the East, and we are going north of the wall with Jon Snow. You know nothing, but we know everything about the AFC and NFC North. So we are here to talk about that. There's not much going on in terms of fantasy news. It is still drier than a nun up in here. So there's not much going on. So Tyler's dying. There's not much going on for fantasy news. It's Aaron Rodgers watch still, which is similar to Panda Watch. Not quite as entertaining. No one's pushing anybody
Aaron
into
Rodgers.
a bear pit.
Do something.
I'm riding a bear. It's like a furry tractor.
A lot of
Damn it, Brick.
quotes tonight.
Damn it, Brick. What are you doing? And Baxter saves the day. He runs into the Bears family. They work it out. Baxter's the best. Mm-hmm. Did you eat a whole wheel of cheese and poop in the refrigerator? I'm not even mad. It's amazing. It's an Anchorman episode, apparently. I'm in that kind of mood. And there's nothing wrong with that. Anchorman 2, there's everything wrong with that. But that's another story for another day. So I can't think of any news. There's been no real contract. There's been no franchise tags went by with a long-term deal. Nothing for any of our offensive skill players. Taylor Moton from the Carolina Panthers signed a long-term deal to avoid the franchise tag number, but Allen Robinson still playing on the tag and guys like that. So there was really no movement there either from a long-term deal for those players. So nothing to really report.
There is a ton of workout videos. Zeke is slim.
Yeah, I saw Ed Werder retweet Zeke and say, definition of ripped.
Yeah.
He's doing all the things on Planet Endor. He's like bicep curling his brother, sister Ewoks.
Yeah.
He is like bench pressing ATST walkers into the air.
I was gonna say, how many Ewoks can Zeke bench? I mean, he's looking real good.
All of them.
I have the feeling like Zeke has one of those. He's like a movie star body. Like we see like Zeke and like, oh my God, he's Christian Bale. He's shredded. And then all of a sudden he's like fat, balding Christian Bale. Like a few months later.
It's not very functional is what you're saying.
Yeah. He's like, he seems like an up and down dieter. I don't know.
Maybe he's got a secret filter that we don't know about on Snapchat. And if he does, please let me know because I would like.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I was told there's filters out there that some people use, and you can actually slim off pieces of your pictures to make you appear more slender and more physically attractive.
That's what I do on this video,
which
right
is
here.
I'm live doing it right now. I'm slimming and toning with my settings as I'm talking. It's a beautiful thing. So yeah, that's a thing out there. But that Zeke just reminds me of Christian Bale. Like, oh my God, he's Batman. He's rocked up, and then all of a sudden he's like, what was that movie where he was like all heavy set?
Or the opposite. What's the movie where he was actually
The Machinist, where he was like he was all bone.
Yeah.
That's not good for your body, folks. Let's be honest. Yeah, that's not good stuff. But yeah, so Zeke is looking good. We went over our top running backs for redraft season on Trophy Time this past week, and I have Zeke.
Check it out.
He was a little bit of a value here, but I think the ship is starting to right in redraft anyway for this year. In Dynasty, I'm still interested in probably selling at the right place if I can. He may have just a couple years left at this point, but that's a story for another day. Let's get into the North. Let's start with the AFC. Now, I think the most interesting team this year in the AFC North, there's a lot of them. The AFC North is pretty stacked with fantasy assets.
I was actually going to say, I look forward to hearing what you were going to say next, because I think all four teams are pretty damn interesting in the division.
Yeah, I mean, there's fantasy assets on all of these teams that you want on your teams. I'm going to start with Baltimore. So I think Baltimore is the most interesting because, they go out and they get their wide receiver one, or at least we hope so, with Rashad Bateman. Early reports on Bateman are wheels up, looking great. He's going to be the guy, which is great because they need a guy. They Marquise Brown was a failed experiment as him as the wide receiver one. I still think he's definitely fantasy relevant. I like his game. He finished the season very strong towards the end of the year, but they need that alpha dog type of receiver. Miles Boykin ain't it. Willie Snead ain't it. We've got Mark Andrews over there, so he's a top 5 dynasty tight end. We've got Lamar Jackson, who's a top 5 quarterback in most people's rankings in Superflex. But the backfield, people are either really sold or not sold on J.K. Dobbins in this offense because of the presence of Gus Edwards. And I think Gus Edwards is like a sneaky flex play during the season. So let's start with the backfield for Baltimore. So, Tyler, I want to hear, what is your opinion on J.K. Dobbins? Do you think he's going to be one of these year 2 running back breakouts, or is he going to be the guy that you're like so frustrating because you're like, why aren't you giving Dobbins the ball more?
Personally, like, you hear news about him catching the ball at the backfield. I am one of those people that's going to believe it when I see it. I watched a ton of Lamar Jackson not even looking for a second to the backfield. He never looked to Dobbins. Dobbins always had room. I don't know if you can kind of drill it into his head. We all saw Cam Newton kind of change when they brought in McCaffrey. Dobbins is electric. He can catch the ball. But if Dobbins doesn't, he needs to have a Nick Chubb efficiency-like season to produce at the value he's showing. And I like Dobbins. I think he's a great talent. But like we all said, Gus Edwards isn't going anywhere. They signed him. I think he's actually a very good running back. Gus Edwards, that is.
Yeah,
he's also efficient. What if they do like a Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb role, but Gus is Nick Chubb? Because Gus, I don't think, has shown an extreme ability to catch the ball. I think we all know Dobbins can, and he's actually good at it.
Remember Justice Hill? Remember him?
Mm-hmm. Hey, he's the 3rd running back. I'm with Tim here.
Justice Hill.
I still like his talent. I think he's a good running back. But yeah, I think it's Dobbins kind of his backfield to lose. And if he can get 30 catches this year, I think he does catapult himself into that RB1 territory, because I do think he's going to have a very efficient year, especially in this offense. When you have Lamar Jackson in the backfield, I mean, you're going to succeed as a runner. It's shown time and time again. So I'm not nervous about that. It's more about the pass catching for me.
What do you think on Dobbins, Tim?
I really do like Dobbins. I think Dobbins has the talent to be that top 5 dynasty asset as a running back. But he's got a guy like Gus Edwards that is an efficient backup behind him. And he's on a team that they're not scared to throw that next guy in. I would say for the dynasty community, you have people that are completely sold on Dobbins. And then you have those that like the value of Gus Edwards behind him. So not that they're necessarily fading Dobbins. They would just rather take the value on Gus Edwards much later in drafts or for a much lower price in trades. Yeah, looking at the backfield, if there is a running back that's going to be strictly a passing downs type guy, Justice Hill still has, all the electricity in the world coming out of the backfield. He's not going to take, touches away from Gus or JK as a running back.
He owns the electric company in Monopoly.
He does.
That's his space.
Yep. Baltimore Gas and Electric. He runs the business down there.
He's got a couple hotels set up. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
He lives on that hill.
But yeah, Dobbins for me is definitely the guy to own here. I think he is the most talented running back. Given the opportunity, he should do well in the receiving game. Doug, you mentioned the quarterback here. Absolutely no question. As long as he is going to start games, Lamar Jackson is going to score you fantasy points. He's an absolute awesome athletic stud at the position. Mark Andrews, again, as long as Lamar Jackson's there, Andrews is going to eat as well at the tight end position. And while their starting wide receiving trio with Watkins, Marquise Brown, and Rashad Bateman might not be the sexiest three names, that is a lot better than that receiving core was 12 months ago.
I've got two names on this Baltimore offense that I love as throw-ins and deals right now. One is Josh Oliver, because I can't quit him. At super athletic pass catcher, drafted by Jacksonville. They traded him in the offseason to Baltimore. Baltimore pretty good at assessing tight end talent, I think, based on some of the players that have played there recently. The second one, we've been hearing a lot of positive things out of camp, is Devin Duvernay. So Devin Duvernay is a guy that came out of school, had a nice profile. He was productive at Texas. Hasn't really done much in the NFL, but he was one of the OTA camp stories, is that Duvernay is flashing, running really crisp routes. Separation was really, really good. Could take, I know Watkins is there. Can he stay on the field? We saw Willie Snead and guys like that get a fair target percentage in this offense. Duvernay could be a sneaky guy that you could get it thrown into a deal and ends up being like a bye-week plug-in for you with some upside. So I don't hate getting Devin Duvernay because I feel like he's forgotten about in this Baltimore offense. So, but I think Bateman is definitely, we saw him going in first rounds of rookie drafts. And, to me, he reminds me a lot of Keenan Allen, maybe a little bit more athletic than Keenan, but a really crisp route runner, sure hands, smart player. That can be that alpha number one. And, obviously the question marks around Bateman is going to be the performance of Lamar. So I think they're really tied together. If this offense is a little bit more pass heavy, I would love it because guys like Bateman and Andrews and all those guys would benefit from it. And maybe that's what they do this year. They look at it and they try to mix it up a little bit more and get Lamar some more passing attempts. Because this offensive line took some hits in the offseason. So maybe some quicker pace. I don't know, but I like this Baltimore offense as a whole. Tyler, any final thoughts on the Robins?
Yes, I actually wanted to talk about Bateman. He is still my wide receiver 2, like 2B. He's right next to Devontae Smith. I think he's going to be this year's Justin Jefferson. He's got a lot of feel with that. I know Devonta Smith has the traits that we saw from Jefferson, but the underratedness of Bateman has that feeling. Honestly, we were all on Bateman. Then he ended up being 6 foot, $190. That's a perfect size for me. If you're $190 at 6 foot, that's OBJ style. That's a route runner, somebody who can do everything in all aspects. I think he's going to be just fine. It's all, like you said, it's all about Lamar Jackson. And honestly, if there's 3 weeks where you don't see any production from him, I am buying as much as I can of Rashad Bateman because it will come. Talent always wins. It will show. Don't jump off Bateman early if he doesn't show up.
Gotcha. I like that. So let's follow up with the Ravens to another run-heavy team we talked about a little bit with the 2 running back attack, and that's the Cleveland Browns. Lots of nice fantasy assets on this team as well. You've got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, both startable assets on your teams. I like Kareem Hunt a lot. Obviously, Chubb is a guy that could lead the league in rushing every single year. He's one of the most talented running backs in the game. And then Kareem Hunt, both of these guys have led the NFL in rushing, which is crazy. Kareem Hunt, in the event that Chubb goes down, Hunt is more than capable of taking over, and we saw that last year. But I think there's enough meat on the bone in this offense that even when the two of them are together, the splits were really good for Kareem Hunt. Like, it was a really nice tandem running backs, and they were both. It didn't, one didn't necessarily completely take away from the other. They could both coexist because the Browns aren't passing a ton. Now, I think the biggest question mark for the Browns in this offense. It's not Baker Mayfield. We saw him rebound really nicely. You know, he's due for a contract extension. And he looked more like he did in his rookie year. You know, his year 2 was pretty disastrous. He's behind one of the best offensive lines in the league, and that's going to be huge. The question mark for me, it's not Jarvis Landry. He's rock solid. You know what you get out of Jarvis Landry. He's that boring dynasty asset, but you're starting him every week because he's productive. It's Odell Beckham Jr. So we saw Odell Beckham Jr. be the 101 in dynasty startups at one point, a historic 3-year run to begin his career. And then it's soft tissue issue central. It's like Alshon Jeffrey, like lower body issues, soft tissue issues. We know the talent's there with Odell. I think, you know, he's going to be 28 years old this year. Just can't seem to put it all together again. Do you think the time has passed where we're like, yeah, name recognition for Odell is cool, but like I'm not really interested in him on my dynasty teams? You know, his ADP, a lot of name recognition is still there. I mean, it's obviously not the 101 anymore, but he's going in like round 6 or 7 in startups. And, you know, Dave Toronto says he's rooting for him. He still thinks he has it. I think that, you know, the athleticism wasn't quite what it once was. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably pretty noticeable. But there's no reason that Beckham can't become that super talented route runner that can create separation. I don't think he's going to do the crazy downfield stuff like he used to anymore. But to me, he's the biggest question mark. And, you know, the tight ends on this team, they're loaded. They've got Austin Hooper. They brought back David Njoku on the 5th-year option. He didn't get traded. I'm bummed because I own Njoku freaking everywhere, and he's useless in Dynasty right now. That's a guy that I want to go get on the cheap because when he leaves as a free agent, he could be a starter on a lot of teams. So thinking ahead, that's what we try to do in Dynasty. And then Harrison Bryant came out last year in his rookie year, 5th-round pick, and looked good. I think if the Browns didn't sign Austin Hooper to one of the richest contracts in tight end history, Harrison Bryant would be the clearest cut starter on this team.
Yeah, he'd be a thing right now.
He would be a thing right now. So that's another name to keep in touch because the Browns are eventually going to have some cap troubles. You know, once they have to re-sign Baker and some of these other guys and Nick Chubb, Austin Hooper might be a guy that gets cut and Harrison Bryant slides right in 2022 as the starter. And that's the kind of guy that I want to acquire now because I like Bryant. You know, he was the Buckus Award winner. And he looked really, really good in his rookie season, which is hard for tight ends. So, you know, a lot of them don't, including Kyle Pitts. He's not going to look good this year, right, Tyler? So Tyler's shaking his head like you're crazy. So what are we doing with Odell Beckham? I guess the question here is, Tim, are you like, yeah, I don't mind having Odell on my team? Or are you like, nah, his best years are done. I'm done with him.
At this point in Odell's career, I don't have any shares of Odell.
Same.
When you see people start to add up those lower, you know, that lower half soft tissue, you know, they start stacking them up one after the next, it's going to start sucking the athleticism out of them. And Odell is still, a premier talent at the wide receiver position. I mean, the guy's got all the talent in the world. His athleticism is not going to match what his talent is still going to be capable of. So he's going to have to morph into more of a Jarvis Landry type, receiver. He's going to have to beat guys off the line. He's going to have to beat guys with the technical route running, and not just lean on the athleticism to blow by everybody. But he's still there. I think if you can sell Odell now, you're still getting a slightly inflated value for him just based off the name because of that 3 years and how monstrous it really was. But two talented wide receivers here at the top. We saw Donovan Peoples-Jones really start to work a little niche out for himself in this offense last year. If the quarterback play, if Baker can keep things under wraps, keep taking the steps we saw him take last year with Stefanski there as head coach, I think the receiving side of this offense is going to be, thumbs up there for sure. Austin Hooper, he is just based off of his price tag. He will remain the starter there. Doug, I was not nearly as high on David Njoku as you were, but being who you were, when you kept spitting his name out, I kept going and grabbing more shares myself.
Sorry.
And it stinks. No, it's fine. It is what it is, because I believe that, if he was given an opportunity somewhere else, maybe to be a receiving only tight end, not have to worry about the inline blocking side of things, I think David Njoku could be a very nice fantasy option in this league. But what I did do last year, if I didn't get him in the drafts, because they signed Austin Hooper to the price tag they did, I was getting Harrison Bryant thrown in on the back end of deals, and now I own this kid everywhere, which I absolutely love because, once he actually got on the field and got a little bit of some snaps under his belt, man, did he look really good. And then back down to the running back position, I absolutely love Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb right now might be my favorite player to watch because they could be on their 1 yard line and he could take it 99, or he could mill the opponent's one, and he's going to run over a linebacker to get in the end zone. And if he gets on the outside, I believe, I don't have a stat in front of me, but I believe Nick Chubb forced more missed tackles last season per capita than any other running back in the league. The guy is a highlight reel at the running back position. It just so happens he has a guy who's nearly just as talented as he is as his backup. Kareem Hunt is so much fun. It stinks really because of how good Kareem is. They feel very comfortable taking Chubb off the field at times to get Hunt work. And it's what they got to do. It's what any coaching staff would do, honestly. But yeah, I absolutely love both the running backs. I have Chubb in a bunch of spots. Personally, he's probably my favorite player to watch.
Yeah, what do we think about? I know they went out and drafted Anthony Schwartz, which I think gives them an element to this offense that they didn't have. He was typically like a 4th round rookie pick, sometimes later. Do we think with his track speed that he has maybe an instant impact in year 1, or is he just strictly like is he going to just run 9s all day and maybe get lucky here and there?
I want to say it was two years ago. They drafted another kid, ended up with legal trouble, who was a bit of a field stretcher.
He made a big play against the Saints.
Yeah.
He's been bounced around the league. Oh, God. Not Antonio Bryant. It's not him.
I forget his name.
Kid from Florida.
Yes.
He's now on the Denver Broncos. I know who you're talking about. The name escapes me.
Okay. But we saw him in his rookie season immediately get put into a role where his deal was, you're extremely fast. Go run that 9, because it allowed guys like Jarvis Landry and the tight ends at the time to work up underneath. Anthony Schwartz could easily do that. He's got the speed. It's not a crazy tool he's got to work on over and over and over again. Just make sure your hammies are nice and stretched out.
Yeah, and I think Baker's got the arm strength.
Yeah, and Baker's knows that, hey, this is designed where Anthony Schwartz is taking off down the sideline. He's pulling one of those safeties over the top with him. It should open something up underneath for Jarvis or Odell. Mm-hmm. But if for whatever reason that safety, both safeties take off with him, or I'm sorry, the safety doesn't take off with Anthony Schwartz, Baker's not scared to let one loose and throw it, 55 yards down the field and see if the kid can run under it.
Yeah. Tyler, any thoughts on the Browns?
Pretty much going to echo what Tim said. Nick Chubb, phenomenal. You said Kareem Hunt's close to him. I personally think nobody touches Nick Chubb as a runner right now.
I'm saying when have you had a running back that was absolutely elite? Nick Chubb is absolutely elite. On most teams where they have an elite starting running back, the backup is an RB4,
I agree,
RB5.
Yeah,
you're not seeing this type of talent as your starting running back. Where literally, if Nick Chubb gets injured week 2, they still have a contender.
Yeah.
At the rushing title.
No, I agree with that.
They don't. I mean, it's a downgrade, but it's not nearly as steep as 31 other teams.
I think Beckham's value right now is too hard to pass up for what you could get out of it. If he's your wide receiver 2, I'm not a fan. If he's your wide receiver 3 or 4, love it. I have a team in a home league. I bought OBJ for a late second. Love that value in return.
I like that.
And it's just because we haven't seen it. And for a lot of people, it's what have you done for me lately? Odell Beckham has not done it for you for...
It's very much a Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately?
Yeah, and I completely agree on the Harrison Bryant. I think Austin Hooper's out of there. If not sooner than later, I think they start kind of pushing Harrison Bryant into that dominant wide tight end role. Just because Hooper doesn't have that athleticism that we've seen from Harrison Bryant.
Hooper's like the boring fantasy option that gets it done, though.
People say he's like, Witten. I think Witten might be more athletic than Hooper.
I just remember when he was a Falcon, that long, dad runner Hall of Fame play.
Yeah.
For Austin
What's the stat line that you need to be a tight end one? Like 3 for
30 and a touchdown. We'll get you tight end one.
That sounds like Austin Hooper to me. 3 for 30 or touchdown.
Yeah, he's the unsexiest fantasy option. That's he could be a tight end one, and I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean?
But the player I'm all over, Donovan Peoples-Jones, super cheap. Oozing athleticism. Guy jumped 41. What was it, 41 or 43? Between
feet.
Feet. Okay. At the combine, his rookie year, the guy has only scratched the surface of what he can do. Michigan held him back. John Harbaugh is a terrible offensive-minded coach. Mm-hmm. We've seen that time and time again. Personally, I think he's the guy that kind of comes out of nowhere, not Anthony Schwartz. We saw it at the end of last year. He started producing.
Yeah, he had a couple of good games.
He is a guy that if you're not trading a 4th or a 3rd for, you should be doing that.
I like that move. All right, so let's keep it going with the North, and let's get to Pittsburgh. Again, another team that's loaded with fantasy assets. You've got the quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, who's a solid QB2 in your Superflex formats, obviously in Dynasty. We don't know how many more years Big Ben has. It looks like the elbow is better than it was last year when it really drug down guys like Juju Smith-Schuster.
Which, if you know anything about Tommy John surgery, you guys, if you follow baseball, you should know the second year is the year the elbow is finally healed.
It's where he
didn't have Tommy John surgery though. But he did have an elbow injury.
Yeah, I mean it was
reconstructive elbow
surgery. So we all know the big 3 wide receivers. Juju comes back as a free agent on a $8 million 1-year deal. He's looking to cash in next year for big money. We've got Deontay Johnson in year 3, who is an absolute top 10 in targets per game in the NFL, an absolute target monster. Looks like a maybe on sale version of Antonio Brown at times. Lots of talent, struggles with drops a little bit. But I love watching Deontay Johnson play. And then you got the rookie that comes out of nowhere, Chase Claypool, Mapletron, scoring double-digit touchdowns in his rookie season and really splashing onto the scene is that freak athlete, big body, kind of reminds you a little bit of DK Metcalf, but not as freaky. But that absolute workout warrior who can make big plays, but also struggled down the stretch in his rookie year. I think, the rookie year for him was he caught people by surprise for a while, and then teams might have figured him out. Coverage has changed, and Claypool he kind of sputtered down the stretch in the last, I believe, 6 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how he bounces back after a slow second half. So then James Conner leaves in free agency. The Steelers, who need offensive line help, are like, we're going to pick Najee Harris, which, again, perfect fit, in my opinion, to be a Steelers running back, Najee Harris. Love the fit. The biggest question is along that offensive line is how long can Ben Roethlisberger be upright and how much success is Najee Harris going to have? And then at tight end, Eric Ebron, solid in year 1 with Big Ben, but they draft Pat Freiermuth in the 2nd round, who I think, when we were baking in draft price, I was getting Freiermuth in auction leagues for 10% of the price that Kyle Pitts was going for. And I love that because to me, Freiermuth is a more complete tight end. I'm not saying he's better. He's a more complete tight end than Kyle Pitts is. And I think, when you look at how long, give me Pat Freiermuth could have 10 productive years as a tight end. I don't know that Kyle Pitts does that. So to get him at 10% of the cost, I was really investing in Freiermuth.
I can't take all this Kyle Pitts hate from Doug tonight. I just can't do it.
I just like to trigger you. It's fun. So they draft Freiermuth, who I think could be like a Harrison Bryant this year. They have an accomplished tight end in front of him, but Freiermuth is going to make some plays in this offense, I think. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a 5 or 6 touchdown rookie year from Freiermuth. The draft capital's there. They got him in the 2nd round again. They could have gone offensive line, but they chose to kind of throw everything at the offensive skill positions. So Tyler, I think the most polarizing option here from a dynasty asset is Juju. We saw what he did when he had Antonio Brown with him. And I was one that was like, you know what? He's benefiting from playing across from Antonio Brown. And because Juju was never the most explosive guy, he's a rock solid guy. But this past year, I mean, they just used him like he was 50-year-old Larry Fitzgerald, 3 yards down the field, He wasn't making big explosive plays like he did in years prior. Rumors came out that he might have been injured. He's still super young, which is one of the things that we love about Juju in Dynasty. And everyone, like when he splashed onto the scene, he was 20 years old. I think he's 24, going into his 4th year in the league, which is amazing. Are you buying Juju Smith-Schuster, or are you just like, I don't know, are you not believing in the talent because he's not being insulated by an elite talent like Antonio Brown?
Actually, I have no shares of Juju, and I don't plan on getting any shares. Last year, I took a leap of faith. I had Juju on the UDPL league on the team. I took a leap of faith because I was just not a fan. I haven't been since his rookie year. And I traded Juju for what looks phenomenal. I traded for Justin Jefferson and Henry Ruggs before the season started. It's just, honestly, with Juju, he didn't seem to separate in college. I still see that. And I feel like he has a little Amari Cooper to him in the aspect of, I think Cooper's better, but Cooper gained like 10 to 15 pounds of just pure muscle. And people were kind of worried because
I remember
Cooper's a route runner and a guy who's smart, gets into space, and people didn't want him to lose that athleticism that he had. Now, Juju didn't have much to give. Cooper had at least like a cushion to give for the speed. Juju didn't. Juju doesn't have that cushion where he can add weight and lose a little bit of that. But to me, in my opinion, if he can get back to what he was his rookie year, slimming down a little bit, cutting that, don't need to be this bulked up, huge slot receiver guy. If you can get back down to weight, gang a little bit of that explosiveness back, I think he'll be fine. But I don't think you're going to see what you saw when AB was there. Big Ben was younger, and Juju was just on one-on-one.
Yeah, the overall offense was more dynamic too, in my opinion.
Yeah, personally, for me, it's Claypool. That's the player you want. I like Deontay a lot. Mm-hmm. I think if he's going to break out, he needs to have a massive year this year. He's kind of teetering on the rope right now. You know what I like? He should be dominant with all the targets he gets, but he's kind of still teetering on that. Is he elite or is he just a wide receiver too? Mm-hmm. Claypool to me has that ceiling, and I think his price is just about at value right now.
Yeah, Claypool's built like an alpha dog outside receiver. Like, no doubt. He's built like, the DK Metcalfs, the Kenny Galladays. Like, he can play. He can be that. The Cortland Sutton. He can be that guy. It's just going to be – his development is going to be one of the more interesting things to watch. So I think he is a buy right now because you see that, like – too. Yeah, you see that the ceiling for Claypool could be super sky high if he gets all his stuff together. And, the talent's definitely there. So, Tim, any thoughts on Pittsburgh? I know Najee Harris is the running back. Is there anyone else in that backfield you're even remotely interested in? It's kind of like a bunch of guys.
Hold on. Before Tim, I want to play a game for both of you.
Okay.
And it's going to be a running back game with Najee. Who would you rather have over Najee in Dynasty? Now we're going to start at McCaffrey.
Yeah.
McCaffrey.
Barkley.
I'm not as high on Barkley as others. I'll go Barkley for now, but that's
okay.
Close.
Barkley. Let me see who would be and Delvin Cook.
Oh, yeah. Cook. Yeah.
Let me see here. Let's go Antonio Gibson. We talked about him last week, or Najee.
I'll take Najee.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
what about Kamara?
Kamara.
Najee. Yeah, I agree with that.
DeAndre Swift.
Najee.
Okay. That's about the line for me.
I got him in that way. I take Chubb over him, and then we're talking like Najee Mixon, Najee Aaron Jones.
So we're kind of saying Najee's RB 5-6.
5-6, yeah.
Okay. I think I'd have him right behind Swift at maybe 6. I know Swift is 4 or 5 for me, so he'd be around there.
Love you some DeAndre Swift.
He absolutely does.
Him later.
Tim, any thoughts on the Steelers here?
I'll wrap up the receiver position. Juju, I just don't love the price tag with Juju still for what I think he's probably going to produce. One of the viewers mentioned in the comments, all three have like top 20 talent. So they're all going to kind of eat away at each other a little bit. If I was playing in a best ball, Claypool's the guy I want. If I'm playing in a PPR, just for my personal peace of mind, let me get Johnson, because on a week where I need him, he might not start from every week, but if I like the matchup,
he's got Big Ben's trust out of all those guys.
I think this guy's going to see 10 targets this week. I'll start Deontay Johnson. Or as a bye week guy, absolutely, he's a perfect bye week guy, because you're going to have no qualms about it. He's going right into the lineup. As far as the tight end position, Eric Ebron, you're getting him at a value right now. But yeah, Pat Fairmouth, if you're getting him at 10% of what you were getting Kyle Pitts in rookie drafts, I'm sorry, it's an economics thing now. That means Kyle Pitts is going to have to outproduce Pat Fairmouth 9x over their career.
In Pigs 2, a copy of Kyle Pitts went for $600. I got a copy of Pat Fairmouth for $66.
That is almost That means that Kyle Pitts is almost going to have to outproduce Pat Fairmouth 9x over their careers.
He will.
He will.
He could. That's a big potential there that's not gonna turn around. And also another person in the comments actually said something about they believe the offensive line looks so bad because of the lack of running game. That's one of those chicken or the egg comments. Was James Conner looking that bad last year because he was ineffective, or the offensive line was ineffective in front of him? There is more and more stats that come out every year that kind of show that it is, we hear, running backs will matter. It is truly getting proven statistically that the better the offensive line plays in front of quarterbacks and running backs, it really doesn't matter who you have in the backfield. They're going to produce at about the pace that the running back the lineman in front of them are producing. If you have quality offensive linemen, you're going to get quality running back play.
Also, the best thing about Deontay Johnson is you can get a wide receiver 1 targets wise weekly for a late first, which is almost impossible to get.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed. And Deontay Johnson is one of those guys that scored exceptionally well in reception perception too. So the talent with Deontay Johnson, clean up the drops a little bit. But Deontay Johnson to me is really, really good. And I like having him on my fantasy teams because I like watching him play. I'm one of those guys that's like, I like watching him play football. I like having him on my teams.
In the reception perception Discord chat that you can only be in if you become a member, which you should, they talk a ton about Deontay Johnson. And whenever that happens, Harmon always chimes in and is like, drops are fallacy. Don't worry about drops. Who cares about drops?
It's a narrative thing.
And then pretty much said Deontay is awesome. Like that's all Harmon pretty much says is like, he's so on Deontay. And when Harmon speaks, you gotta kind of listen.
The track record's pretty good with that gentleman. So it was very nice. All right. So let's get on to my favorite team in the NFC North to watch football. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. I thought I'd never say that. Yeah. It's been a long time since the Carson Palmer, Chad Ochocinco, TJ Hushmanzada, Rudy Johnson days. But here we are. I like this Bengals offense a ton. They go and get Jamar Chase at the 105 to pair up with his old college quarterback, Joe Burrow. T. Higgins, he was one of the guys that you're starting to see get a ton of buzz in OTAs. Like Higgins is in great shape. Like he is ready. He's going to pretty much take AJ Green's role and targets. Obviously Chase is going to come in. He's going to get his too. And then Tyler Boyd, who's slowly become a sneaky value, I think. And Boyd is a rock solid pro and a rock solid receiver to have on your team. Running back, we got Joe Mixon. He doesn't have Giovanni Bernard anymore. The only competition is Samaje Perine. They get, Chris Evans is an undrafted free agent or a 7th rounder. Travion Williams, he was a thing for a little while in the circles.
Puka.
But yeah, Puka for the tiny little pocket rocket. Yeah, that's what I'll call him. And then tight end, it's Drew Sample and CJ Uzomah. Uzomah tears his Achilles. Who knows how he's going to come back. Sample, they used a 2nd-round pick on this guy. I liked him a lot, a good profile, but the first game that he played, he had a ton of targets. I'm like, it's Drew Sample season. I was so pumped. And then it just wasn't enough.
It just ended up being a sample.
Yeah, it was just a small sample size of a good game that he had. So I'm not in on Drew Sample, but he could be a starting tight end, so he may have value in your tight end premium leagues. But man, this passing game, Burrow coming back from the ACL injury, he's admitted that he's probably not going to run as much as he did in his rookie year because he wants to be cautious with the knee. I don't care. Like Burrow could drop back and throw it 650 times this year. The defense is okay, but that offense is going to put up a lot of plays. And I think Mixon is going to be the guy that finally pays off on all the promises. We've always seen the talent with Joe Mixon. And I think fantasy owners that have had him for the first few years of his career are just sick and tired of like, this guy's so talented, but he never produces. I think this is the year. I think Joe Mixon takes that step up into RB1 territory in dynasty startups. And I know he's kind of in there anyway, but he's fluctuated a lot lately. There's a lot of people that are in or they're out on Joe Mixon. I've always liked Mixon, so I am in. I think without the threat of Giovanni Bernard there, he is a true 3-down back in the NFL, and I think he's going to be used as such this year. So I am all in on Joe Mixon. I love this Cincinnati team. It's going to be a blast to watch. But Tyler, I want to know, out of the pass catchers, how are you playing this? I mean, Chase has the draft capital, Higgins has the great rookie season, and Tyler Boyd is just the steady Eddie in the offense. Like, how are you looking at this?
So, like you said, if they throw 550 to 650,
it'll be 6 to 650, I think. Easy.
Yeah, that's kind of the sweet spot. I'm thinking Mixon will get 70. Maybe
we're
they
talking
don't use
targets, right?
Yeah. Okay. The tight ends might not be an issue.
Won't get a lot.
Boyd gets 100, Higgins gets 120, Chase gets around 120. There's still plenty of targets to go around. And for me, that's where it's at. Like, this offense is going to be prolific. And with the addition of Jamar Chase, I think he's going to be the alpha. When Burrow's in trouble and he needs to throw it away, I think Chase is going to be that option. But don't think Higgins is going away. Higgins is going to be great. He's going, like we saw Godwin and Mike Evans coincide once, together. And that's what it's going to be like. Like, Higgins is going to be, he's going to be so good. Like, I don't know why people are still sleeping on Higgins, because he almost hit 1,000 yards and he didn't blow up really until week?
He started off slow. He didn't really see the field much.
Or so, week 4 or 5. And then he didn't have Burrow. Like, we saw, who was the quarterback?
Ryan Finley.
Brandon Allen.
Yeah.
Play.
Yeah, Brandon Allen.
Brandon Allen, yeah.
And I just think that if you're kind of sleeping on Higgins or not doing your due diligence to go get him, you need to.
I needed wide receiver help in UDPL, and I was like, you know what, Aaron Jones, and everyone that knows me, Aaron Jones stan from the jump. But it's dynasty, like, I don't know. So I was like, I need wide receiver help. I traded away Aaron Jones and got back T. Higgins in a 2022 second rounder. And I love that deal. Aaron Jones, I feel like I'm trying to trading close to peak, and I'm getting Higgins because I think Higgins could be a wide receiver 1 in dynasty startups at some point. Like, I think he's talented enough and he's got the quarterback to do it. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer. And then I got a second round pick as well, which I could use for, whatever my team might need at the time. So I really liked going out and getting Higgins. And I think part of that is that when people saw them draft Jamar Chase, the immediate fantasy narrative, especially in dynasty circles, was like, lower the value on T. Higgins, where I was like, all aboard for T. Higgins. It only helps T. Higgins to have Jamar Chase. Like, let's be completely honest here. Higgins is going to see the number 2 corner on the teams, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and he's going to eat.
Yeah, he is going to eat.
And the thing is it's not crazy to think that wide receivers can be back-to-back in dynasty startups. We saw it with, like I said, Evans and Godwin. There's so many examples to where wide receivers
two receivers being top 20, Thielen and Jefferson. Like, there's lots of teams that
Jones
can produce.
And Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, there's lots of teams that can produce 2 top 20 wide receivers. We see it every year.
And Boyd is a phenomenal wide receiver 4 or 5 for your team, that if you have a bye week or you're in a pinch, he's so steady Eddie. He's going to get you 10 points, if not more, each week, and you're going to be happy about it. I think he's one of the more underrated receivers in the NFL. He's got a Jarvis Landry-like feel, and he's so cheap right now. And he's another guy that like, you want a piece of this offense. I mean, I traded Akers straight up for Mixon in one of my dynasties because I got contract years back, which is what I wanted. And
I have Burrow, Higgins, and Mixon on the UDPL team now. So let's go. Houday.
I like that. And honestly, like I think Mixon outproduces Akers. That could be a hot take for people, but I think Mixon is in for a massive year.
Definitely could be. Definitely could be.
Timmy, give me your breakdown on these Bengals.
Yeah, this receiving core is super, super nice. I mean, Tyler Boyd, their third receiver, could probably go to half the teams in the league and be one of the starting two. I mean, that's that's the kind of receiving core we're looking at here. T. Higgins last year. T. Higgins missed most of training camp with a sore hamstring, and his rookie offseason minicamps OTAs were eliminated due to the COVID restrictions, and he played with 3 different quarterbacks. With all of that in mind, he still posted 67 for 908 and 6 touchdowns at a 13.6 yard per reception clip.
And he looked damn good doing it. The footwork on the sideline, like the whole 9.
T is the absolute real deal. Jamar Chase is the absolute real deal. The second they drafted Jamar Chase, the value dropped. I'm sorry, the price for T. Higgins dropped, meaning the value spiked. T. Higgins is, I'm telling you, you're getting him at a value of what this guy can produce. The tight end position.
TD Higgins.
I don't absolutely love any of the tight ends here for the team, but yeah, Doug, same thought. When Uzama got hurt and Sample that first game, or it was like the second half of that game there,
he was just getting target after target. It was crazy.
Peppered. And I'm like, oh my God, in leagues where Sample's not rostered, it is
being such a tight end guy, I'm like frothing at the mouth. Like, I own Drew Sample in places.
Yeah. I was like, in leagues where he isn't currently rostered, I was like, it is going to be a race on the waivers of who can get Sample in there. I think that they, though, are all led by one of the premier quarterbacks of the future in the league, that being Mr. Joe Burrow. They did no favors for this young man. His rookie season, just putting him out there and letting him go throw the ball 60 times in front of a pretty bad offensive line. So hopefully the offensive line play gets a little bit better, and it should there in Cincinnati. But Joe Burrow, I think, is just going to be the next guy we're talking about 15 years from now as a premier tight end or a quarterback in the league. And Joe Mixon, yes, for Joe Mixon fans, for owners of Joe Mixon shares, he has never paid off at what his potential shows. But Joe Mixon, man, everything's laid out in front of him here.
It's a make or break year for him.
Yeah, I absolutely love the talent. Hopefully things work out for him, because I'd like to see him get one of those big years under his belt. I will say that one of my bigger leagues, somehow I guess somebody let Samaje Perine go to the waiver wire, and I said, I mean,
you could do worse.
Yeah. He looked really good last year.
I'll absolutely go grab him, because if something does happen to Joe Mixon, I'll take the running back attached to this receiving core and this quarterback's arm, because there's going to be some pass interferences in the end zone where they're going to have that, first and goal. So
yeah, and if you run a fantasy league that is massive points on absolute crazy highlight catches, then you should roster Auden Tate. That's all I'm saying. Because that dude makes
Bengals. Let's hope the Bengals actually roster him.
I know. That dude makes some insane catches in limited playtime. I'll tell you that much. Go Knowles. So that's going to wrap up the AFC North. I do want to give a shout out to Viridian Global. If you're looking for any beautiful Dynasty Happy Hour apparel, you can check it out on ViridianGlobal.com. They also have a line of Scott Fishbowl 11 shirts, which are really, really cool with lots of different band designs. So if you're looking to rep your division or just rep Scott Fishbowl in general, make sure you go on Viridian Global. Still raising money for Fantasy Cares and Toys for Tots through that program with Viridian Global, as well as RotoWare. I think still has some Scott Fishbowl stuff available as well. And shout out to the guys for the Podathon. I know Tyler and I got to be on it briefly this year, and Sal and the team did an amazing job raising, I think, almost $40,000 just from the Podathon this year after sponsorships and pledges. Just absolutely awesome. I can't wait to see what the final number is here. I'm hoping it's 6 digits this year, because that would be absolutely freaking awesome for Scott Fishbowl to get that. I think everyone's drafts are done. So I know there's people out there that are shooting out rankings. I don't want to look at mine. I think my team's okay. I had fun with it at least. So let's get to the NFC North. And I want to start with the Minnesota Vikings, because that's Tyler's team. So not too many changes in the offseason. You still have Cousins. You got Cook. You got Madison. You got Jefferson. You got Thielen. We saw Kyle Rudolph go to the Giants. So everyone is like, is that going to pump up Irv Smith?
Big Irv.
Mike Zimmer's like, blah, 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 coach speak, blah, blah, blah. I like Irv Smith a lot. There's still a lot of room for the wide receiver 3, whoever that might be on the team. And maybe they use Irv Smith as the wide receiver 3. Tyler's probably going to give me some names you never heard of as a wide receiver 3 candidate. It's probably not Olabisi, if I'm guessing. unless you're hot on him again. No. Okay, good. So the Vikings, I don't think there's going to be too much difference than last year, to be completely honest. I think you're still going to get one of the more underrated QBs in Superflex and Kirk Cousins. You're going to get Dalvin Cook, who to me is the running back 2. And he's absolutely my favorite running. And just like Tim said, Nick Chubb is his favorite running back to watch. My favorite running back to watch is Dalvin Cook. He's so freaking awesome. And then you got Justin Jefferson, who comes out of nowhere, sets rookie records. And, like Tyler said, before the season, he went out. He was a big Justin Jefferson guy. We have him in a couple leagues that we share together. So that has obviously paid off. So thank you for that, Tyler. But yeah, I don't have much to say about the Vikings. It's kind of like expect some touchdown regression for Adam Thielen and maybe some more touchdowns for Jefferson and Smith, I guess is my takeaway for this year's Vikings team. But I'm going to go to Tyler on this one first because he has more Vikings knowledge because he knows Eric Decker's cousin or something like that. Remember that? Throwback.
Yeah, honestly, the biggest change is probably different Kubiaks. I mean, Kubiak is gone. His son steps in. It's going to be the same thing. Let's just hope that his son is as smart as a play caller as his dad is. That's kind of what the thinking is. Hopefully that sticks. I mean, there is no wide receiver 3. Chad Beebe would probably be the closest. They really like him. But honestly,
who's the kid they drafted that some people liked?
Amir Smith-Marset.
Yes. I mean, he's a phenomenal special teamer. Amir Abdullah, remember him? He's also a very good returner.
Yep.
It'll be a fight, training camp battle for that spot between those two. I don't think Smith will become the wide receiver 3 right away. I think they're going to do Jefferson, Thielen, and they'll probably throw Irv and a name, Tyler Conklin, who the Vikings have always liked. They've always liked this guy. I think he's a 5th-round pick his rookie year, and he's slowly come on. We've seen some actually pretty good catches out of him. But he's going to get more playing time. They're going to run a little more 2 tight end sets. And I think you're going to see Irv take a big boost in snap percentage. I just hope the targets come with that. But Tyler Conklin, every time he's on the field with Irv, seems to kind of suck the life out of Irv Smith, the hype. So I hope that doesn't happen. I really hope Irv takes a step. News is he's really taking care of his body. He's really worked hard this offseason. Zim has talked a lot about him working this offseason on becoming a better inline tight end, which is what they want because Zimmer's an old school type guy. They want him to block as well as go out for passes. I think we're going to see an improvement on that. So, yeah, I like Irv a lot at his cost. I have him in UDPL. I was happy to give him Mark Andrews to gang a little extra with Irv coming back. So, yeah, I'm in on Irv. Justin Jefferson, like you said, I think the yardage comes down. Touchdowns, I do think, go up. Thielen, I think he's going to start slowly decreasing in all stats, but he's going to be safe. If he's a 900-yard guy with 10 touchdowns, I think that's perfect. That's what you want. That's what you should expect. I don't think you need to think of him as that 12, 13 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards type guy.
He's going to be the Austin Hooper of the wide receiver position. Just that boring, productive guy that you're like, he works. Yeah.
A sneaky signing, Larry Fitzgerald coming to Minnesota midway through the preseason. He's from Minnesota. He was the ball boy from Minnesota when they had
He's
Moss,
a slot guy.
Carter, and all that. Yep. Perfect spot for him. And I think that he could be a really good teacher for Jefferson to get better, which is crazy to say. But yeah, I think if not, they could slowly start moving Thielen into that quote unquote Fitzgerald type role.
Because that more possession. Yeah.
Yeah. But Cook is going to be Cook. Alexander Madison is going to be Madison until Cook kind of falls apart, which we hope to God doesn't happen for another 5 years.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
The tread on the tire with Cook, you may think is a lot. It's not. I think Cook's got a really good solid 3 years left in him. I think the Vikings are going to be good. I think their offensive line is better. It just all depends on what Kubiak can do.
Tim, any thoughts on the Vikings? I think this is probably the easiest team out of all the NFC North.
This is probably the cut and dry, maybe one of the most cut and dry teams in the entire league. Everybody's excited to see what Justin Jefferson does, in year 2. Potential is the guy takes that next step forward, and it didn't take long for him to really establish himself in the league and say, hey, I'm going to be a force you guys are going to have to deal with on a week in, week out basis. And even once defenses started to switch the coverage up where he was seeing the premier guys, he was still eating. So Justin Jefferson, look forward to watching a nice long career.
When are you guys going to pay on that water bet? The Justin Jefferson water bet.
Every time we hear Justin Jefferson,
I did give you guys.
How about we do it at the Expo?
That's perfect. And also,
we'll do it at the pool party.
I agree. And also, what was it? Week 3. I don't toot my horn much, but week 3, when we talked about the Vikings, when we were on, I did say the Vikings need to involve Justin Jefferson a ton more because you know what? We saw Olabisi Johnson, and he is not it.
Yeah. I mean, that is a great point, and also a clock is correct twice a day.
Yep, absolutely.
Love you.
the tight end here, Irv Smith. I absolutely love
wrong.
Irv Smith. I think they're going to lean on him to be the guy there at the tight end position. I think Irv Smith set up to finally have the big year we've been all been hoping for. Dalvin Cook, like you guys mentioned, I mean, he's one of the best running backs in the league as a pure runner. The guy's electric. He's a lot of fun to watch. And then at the quarterback position, there is nothing about Kirk Cousins, when I watch him on Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays and I go, man, he's a really good quarterback.
I met Kirk Cousins in person and he was like a substitute teacher.
And there's nothing about Kirk Cousins fantasy production that I go, man, I really need to have Kirk Cousins on my team.
But he just gets it done.
But he's fine. He's better than fine, really.
He's the Adam Thielen of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's spot on. He's definitely a weird.
Adam Thielen is the Austin Hooper tight end. So
it's like the substitute teacher throwing a pass to the gym teacher.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I would, if Kirk Cousins was my quarterback 2 on a super flex, I'd be fine with that. That's pretty damn good. That means you have a very good number 1 quarterback. If he's my number 1 quarterback on a super flex team, I'd like to have a Baker right behind him. Have a guy like that. Have 2 really solid number 2 types.
That's having too many gym teachers on your team, right there.
Somebody's got to teach the math.
Yeah, you gotta have a math.
We can't just climb rope all day. No one's getting a diploma here. This is pretty cut and dry. Because they have a okay quarterback. You would expect most of these guys to be okay at least.
What about the quarterback behind him?
What's that?
What about the quarterback behind him that they drafted in the 3rd round? You're not a Mon fan. No. I am. I liked Mon before the process.
I own Mon in 6 leagues.
Now I gotta say, needs a ton of time.
Yeah.
Who better to learn than a guy that's a substitute teacher? Yeah. I mean, it's perfect. Mm-hmm. I think Mon is going to succeed. And the thing you got to realize with Mond is after the fact, you hear teams were super interested. The Texans wanted Mond before Minnesota got him. That's who the Texans wanted over Stills. Did I say his name right? Stills,
Mills.
Yeah.
Mills.
Mills.
Kenny Stills. I get it. It's fine.
It's a cracker company, right? General Mills, Stills. Yep. That's all I remember.
Nabisco? I don't know.
But yeah, you hear a lot of teams wanted Kellen Mond. They were very interested in him. They liked the mold of clay that they saw. And I think Minnesota, give him 2 years, and I think we're going to see this guy succeed. I hope they don't bring him early because you hear Cousins might want to be gone after this year. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they don't rush him because Mond needs time.
As soon as Minnesota was kicking tires possibly on trading up for Justin Fields, and then they took Mond, to me, that signaled that they're thinking about the future.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I was able to get Mond at a value in a ton of Superflex leagues, and I'm happy with it. Stashing him on my taxi for a year or two, I'm cool with that. I think sometimes that can pay off. So let's get into the next team in the NFC North. We're running a little long here, but that's fine. We'll be here for a little bit longer. Let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. They're the division champs, made it to the NFC title game. And then, Rodgers just can't get it done as usual. Anyway, it's not all his fault. He's holding out. So that's going to affect a lot of these players. So Davante Adams, he was the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty going into last year. Now he's not. People are like, well, no Aaron Rodgers, that's going to hurt Davante. They're not wrong, but I think if it's Jordan Love at quarterback or they trade Rodgers and get someone back, Davante Adams is still going to be a wide receiver 1 regardless. I just don't think he's going to be the wide receiver 1. They draft Amari Rodgers, who a lot of people like in that Randall Cobb role from back in the day. He's built similarly to Randall Cobb, maybe not quite as explosive, but to me, he's a guy that can be a rock solid option in the league for a lot of years. So I like Amari Rodgers in that offense, especially if Aaron Rodgers does play. You've got the running backs, no more Jamal Williams. He's on another NFC North team, which we'll talk about here shortly. But you got Aaron Jones. They re-signed him to a long-term deal and paid him, which a lot of people didn't think they would do because they drafted A.J. Dillon in the second round last year. I think, A.J. Dillon, when it was rumored that Aaron Jones was going to go, A.J. Dillon's stock skyrocketed in startups in best ball leagues. I actually think he's kind of a sneaky buy now because you can't tell me that Aaron Jones is going to get any more work than he did when Jamal Williams was there. I don't think that's going to be the case. He's not built for that type of workload. He is built for exactly how they've been using him. He's hyper efficient, but he's not going to last if you give him 20 to 25 touches a game. So I think A.J. Dillon has a role. And God forbid something happens to my boy Aaron Jones and he gets injured. I think you can slot A.J. Dillon in as a rock-solid RB2 going forward. We saw it in the second to last game, I think it was. Dillon had over 100 yards. He looked the part. He's obviously...
It was like 160, wasn't it?
It was a lot, yeah. He's obviously a member of the Quad City DJs, and they're going to ride that train if they give him the carries. So A.J. Dillon, to me, has become a value in Dynasty. So I'm not opposed to going out and acquiring A.J. Dillon because, Aaron Jones does have a bit of an injury history. He's been healthy the last couple of years, but he gets nicked up, and he's a slight guy. Like, he's not a big dude. He reminds me of Jamal Charles a lot. Just kind of that slighter frame. Charles could handle a little bit bigger workload than Jones, but so that's the kind of guy that I'm going after is Dillon. I don't care about some of the other receivers, your Allen Lazards, your Equinemius St. Browns, your Marquez. They're all the same bunch of mixed bag of assholes at wide receiver that I just don't really want anything to do with because they don't give you consistent value. Valdez-Scantling will have that big 100-yard game. Lazard will have a long touchdown, but you don't know when it's going to happen, so I'd rather not with those guys. And then tight end, Robert Funyuns bursts onto the scene and has one of the most efficient years a tight end has ever seen. So congrats if you picked him up on your waiver wires or if you were rostering him. Hopefully you turned around and sold him because I don't think Robert Tonyan is going to repeat that type of value and efficiency that he had, especially if Aaron Rodgers is not the quarterback. So I'm not really on the Tonyan train. Jay Sternberger, remember that guy?
Yeah, hopefully
the ways
gets
of Jay
better.
Samaro at the A&M tight ends.
Speaking of Sternberger, hopefully he gets better. He's had some personal issues, and I think that's kind of derailed his career. And
I did not know that. Fair enough.
Yeah,
must be a Jace thing. Jay Samaro, Jay Sternberger. If you're a tight end named Jace.
Stay off the case.
Yeah.
Jace is not on the case for touchdown for tight end points. Any thoughts on Green Bay here? Again, I think it's a cut and dried team. No Aaron Rodgers affects everyone, right? Aaron Rodgers coming back. The offense was just so efficient last year. I think that everyone in that offense is due for negative regression. Amari Rodgers, I think, is an interesting prospect in that offense. And A.J. Dillon is my buy.
I don't love any of the receivers other than Davante Adams. And Doug, you're slightly wrong. In my opinion, there is still a window where if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play this year, Davante Adams could still be the wide receiver 1. It's just going to take a big leap of faith by the Green Bay Packers and start none other than Mr. Garbage Time himself, Blake
Bortles.
That's true. Just have him go out there and sling it up.
I went and picked up Blake Bortles in some super flex leagues just in case.
So this is why I'm very upset at the fantasy community.
I might have a sickness.
I have a weird love for Jordan Love. He was my, like, when I watched the combine, I saw the throwing motion and I'm like, he's got Justin Herbert and him were neck and neck. Like, their throwing motion is really nice. I liked both of them. I think Jordan Love, I just think the narrative out on him is way too far left or right, whichever way you want to think. And I think that he's going to be better than we think. I'm going to put faith in him. I think he's really cheap in Dynasty and Superflex. If you can get him at like a second round price, go do it, because his value can only go up, especially if he's a starter. Personally, I don't think Rodgers is going, but next season, for sure, Rodgers is gone. I think Green Bay's had enough of it. And if they can get him for one more year and kind of be like, okay, next year, we're okay with it. But this year, they kind of want Rodgers in the helm after winning the MVP. But seriously, stop the hate on Jordan Love. You guys did those with Josh Allen. We need to learn better. And he's a quarterback. It's super flex. Go buy him.
This is coming from the same guy that loved him some Drew Lock too. So I don't know who to trust.
Yeah, absolutely. At the running back
Drew
position,
Lock could do something.
He could be Green Bay's quarterback in a handful of weeks.
Doug, I was right there with you with Aaron Jones from the jump. The fact that he got paid and he's still there, I see him doing the same thing again. He's going to produce again, roughly at about the same clip, I imagine. AJ Dillon, off the top of my head, I want to say there were 2 instances last year where he averaged over 5 yards a carry after 5 or more, touches, attempts at running the ball. AJ Dillon, big guy, looks like he should be able to, do the Derrick Henry type thing. He doesn't have that in his wheelhouse on a
Could he be a slimmer Eddie Lacy though?
Potentially.
Lacy was a decent pass catcher.
I like how you said slimmer, and AJ Dillon is huge.
Yeah.
Well, Dillon's more muscular. Lacy was, a little soft.
He didn't say smaller. He just said slimmer. Slimmer. I think Aaron Jones is the most electric back in the backfield.
Sorry, Dexter Williams.
Yeah. Sorry, Dexter.
R.I.P. Notre Dame prospects.
Kylan Hill. But yeah, Aaron Jones.
I kind of like Kylan Hill as a why not type of taxi squad guy. Yeah.
But another pretty cut and dry team here out of the North.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Who should we do next? Let's do
the Lions.
Yeah, I was thinking let's do the Lions because this team, if there's any team in the NFL, question marks galore, right? Like, who's the wide receiver one going to be? The coach wants to body everyone. I just want there to be like a WWE ring at halftime, and it's Dan Campbell versus the anyone, and just have him come out there in a singlet and just take on all comers at halftime and just gnaw their limbs off. I don't know how this guy got hired as a coach. I'm going to be completely honest. He's going to be a one and done for me. Sure, he's a player's coach, but does he have any success track record? No.
A very large contract.
Oh. He did okay as an interim guy there in Miami, but I'll tell you what, he fills up the sleeves on his polo shirts. He's got.
He is a massive man. He is.
Yeah. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. We know who the starting quarterback is. There's nobody there even contending with Jared Goff. We know who the starting tight end is. It's TJ Hawkinson all day. Nobody behind him there that's really even worth
targets.
Yeah. DeAndre Swift is easily the starting running back here. The aforementioned Jamal Williams has come over from Green Bay. They drafted Jamar Jefferson, and they signed another kid, Derek Mills, as a running back. But then the receiving core, Brashard Perriman, Tyrell Williams, Victor Bolden, Quintez Cephas.
Keep going.
Tom Kennedy, Damian Ratley.
No. Keep going.
Geronimo Allison.
No.
Wow, he's still in the league.
Sage Surratt.
Nope, you're forgetting a name.
Okay, you want me to say Amon-Ra St. Brown?
Amon-Ra St. Brown is the dude.
All right.
He is the dude there. And he's going to shock people. He is
how
Robert Wood.
How many 4th round picks? How's he gonna shock people? Is he gonna see 90
targets? And honestly, I would not be shocked if he gets 900 some yards off 90 catches. He's going to be a target guy.
Let me write that. I'm gonna write that down.
Okay. I mean, he's already shocked people at OTAs. A lot of people have said he's lined up everywhere. So he's going to be everywhere.
Because he has to be lined up everywhere because everybody else sucks.
Exactly.
This wide receiver course.
Hey, you don't have to be.
Perriman's probably going to see 80.
You don't have to be the best looking guy in the bar. You just have to be the only guy in the bar. And you know what? Amon-Ra St. Brown is the only person
I like
in this
Cephas,
barn.
though.
Cephas
I
is
do like
fine.
Cephas as well.
I think at the end of the year, you're going to see Cephas as the 2, Amon-Ra as the 1, Hawkinson as the actual 1,
Yeah.
and they're going to run it through Hawk. Hawk could see 140 targets this year.
Could. He really could.
That'd be amazing.
And
I just traded for him in a league, so I'm all about it.
And my Hawkinson, his rookie year at, what was it, 103, 104 that I had him slated at, is going to finally pay off. See, you guys, just wait 3 years.
We're going to fast forward, and this will be the same conversation we're having around Kyle Pitts. I'm just saying.
Oh, God.
There's other weapons around Kyle.
So
I know.
And
I'm trying to make Tyler mad.
DeAndre Swift is the guy that everybody's kind of looking at for a huge uptick, and it's going to be all based on targets. We could all be talking about these receivers, and Swift could be the guy getting 70, 80 targets.
You know what's great though is Jamal's not that type of pass catching guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
When the Lions get inevitably behind in games, that all of a sudden they're not going to spell DeAndre Swift for Jamal Williams in pass catching roles.
And they already said they want to use Swift in this Kamara-esque role. I mean, Campbell was in New Orleans soaking in all this information, which I actually like.
That's called steroids.
He was soaking in a tub of
soaking in all this information.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think a lot of people forget this offensive line is phenomenal. This offensive line could be top 5 easily with their addition of Penny Sewell. Yeah. And they have the best center in the league. They have an up-and-coming left tackle still in Decker if he can stay healthy. Their interior is insane. And then Sewell just adds to the right side. Like, what the heck? Like, this team is going to punch you in the face, like Campbell said.
Do you think I could flip Dobbins for Swift in a league?
No, personally, no. It depends on.
Should I try it?
It's pretty. Yeah, it's worth a shot.
Yes, I would try it, and to kind of spin the narrative. I'm taking a shot here. I could either end up with no kneecaps or have my kneecaps still. The question is that a good or bad thing if you don't have your kneecaps? Because if you don't, that means the Lions are doing good, right? They're doing what they want.
I suppose. Yeah, I don't really have any like. I think Swift. Tyler obviously values Swift highly. You might be able to get Swift at a value out there if you find that manager that's like, the Lions are going to stink, and I don't know if they believe in. You might be able to find that. So I think it's worth throwing out there a semi lowball offer, nothing stupid.
When the Lions in like week 2 of the preseason go out there, they play their starters for the first quarter. The Lions as a whole are going to be bad, so they're going to get smoked in this preseason game. You saw, Swift carry the ball 3 times. He just doesn't break anything. He doesn't look great.
That might be the time to make the move.
That's when you start sending those offers out. Like, man, 3 carries for a whole 7 yards.
Canton and people are on the other side of their drinks. That's when you start offering Swift trades.
When my bar tab is around $500 because everybody's been getting doubles on me as I'm just boozing everybody up.
Now, are you talking literally on you, or
if you play your cards
whatever gets the job done, Tyler?
I'm gonna go get some gas station sushi. We're just gonna make a whole decoration out of it. It's gonna be amazing.
Nice.
Yeah. Alcohol or gas? Yeah.
I don't really have much else for the Detroit Lions.
I have one.
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
Goff has become a value in Superflex.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would agree with you on that.
Goff, I think, was being asked too much in LA. I think if he is a game manager, which is kind of what he is, and they run the ball, he's got a really good offensive line in front of him, which can protect him.
He's not set up to manage games. They're going to be behind so much. He's going to be forced.
But when Goff has time, he has shown time and time again he can be accurate. And
he's always
with this
very talented.
Yeah, with this offensive line, I think he's set up to succeed more than to fail. That's just, and he's still super young.
Losses get blamed on quarterbacks. It's just not.
Yep.
For him,
and McVay just the more that comes out on McVay, it just seems like he's super picky and just like
he's kind of a diva coach.
Yeah, him and Shanahan probably
pretty boy
drink cocktails together, talking about how
he's a pretty boy with small dogs. Can't trust him.
They drink espresso together out of a French
espresso, talking about how their new quarterbacks have such a strong arm.
Oh God! All right, let's wrap up the north side with the Chicago Bears, who make the big move to trade up and get Justin Fields. But they're committed to Andy Dalton being the starter. Okay. It's not going to be long before Justin Fields takes over. There was a picture of him in his uniform with that awesome visor, and he looks totally badass in that uniform. I believe in Justin Fields. I think he's going to be awesome. He's a top 5 super flex pick in your rookie drafts. If you're drafting with people that know what they're doing. I even liked him in single QB leagues as a value, because obviously people don't value the quarterback position. But Justin Fields has that Konami code, ran a 4.40. Like, the speed is there. This team does have some weapons. You've got Allen Robinson. A ton of people love Darnell Mooney. Anthony Miller's still there for now. And then the running back position, David Montgomery has one of the best 6-week stretches to end a season that we've ever seen.
So good.
And, and the ease of schedule. So Montgomery, to me, potential trap, I would say. I'm probably selling David Montgomery if I have him on my rosters. Tariq Cohen, looks like he might not be back week 1. They go out and they sign Damian Williams, who I think is a good running back. He's a veteran. He's been around, but he did have a year off, so he should be fresh legs. They go out and they get Khalil Herbert, which some people like.
Woo!
But the tight end for me is Cole Kmet. I am all in on Cole Kmet. Go out and acquire Cole Kmet. Jimmy Graham is still on the team somehow. I don't know why they haven't released him for cap purposes. Jimmy Graham had a really nice year last year in his age 40 season. But Cole Kmet ran a ton of routes and played a ton of snaps in his rookie season. And I think if we see a breakout tight end, like a true breakout candidate, I think it could be Cole Kmet, especially with Justin Fields at the quarterback position. Justin Fields liked his tight ends at Ohio State quite a bit. Shout out to Sal and Jeremy Ruckert. And they also had another tight end who they liked a lot. So I think Fields
got drafted this year by the Jags. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more comfortable for a rookie quarterback than a good tight end. Cole Kmet is the guy that I'm going out and trying to acquire before he blows up. The coaching staff calls him the natural. They know what they have in Cole Kmet. I think that he could be a tight end 1 this year. I don't think that's a hot take because, again, it's not that difficult to do. Jimmy Graham, crazy productive, but I just think that you're seeing a handing of the baton. Cole Kmet's running really fast, and Jimmy Graham's got his walker, and he's just trying to hand him the baton.
Tennis balls are worn out a little bit.
They're worn out. They're on fire, and he's just trying to hand the baton as Kmet runs by really fast. So he's the guy out of any of these that I'm going to acquire. And I do like Darnell Mooney's price, but it is starting to rise in the dynasty community. As more and more data is coming out about Darnell Mooney, more and more people are on him. And I'm upset at Izzy Alcafas because there was a UDPL trade.
I think everybody was after it happened.
Freaking mad. I had the pick. I would have traded it for Darnell Mooney. Didn't offer me a deal and got the pick right after me and gave up Darnell Mooney for it. And I'm like, I would have gladly taken Darnell Mooney there. I need receiver help. So I was a little miffed, but good for Pete Davidson for getting Darnell Mooney for like an early 3rd rounder. I hate you, Pete. Tim, thoughts on the Bears?
We'll start at the wide receiver position. Absolutely love Allen Robinson, have for years. I'm just excited that once Justin Fields takes the starting position there at quarterback, that Allen Robinson will finally have a competent NFL quarterback throwing him the ball for the first time ever in his entire career. Thank God.
You just contradicted yourself. You just talked about Blake Bortles in a positive way, though.
Yes, as the garbage time master. You don't get the title of the garbage time master for being a positive quarterback and putting your team in upside potential. So Allen Robinson, absolutely love him. The guy can do absolutely everything. I think if he had played with a top 10 type quarterback, to start his career off, he would be looked in a slightly different light. He'd be mentioned up there with that next tier of wide receivers. That's for sure. Darnell Mooney, he's on the uptick. Guy you're going to get for pretty daggone cheap right now. Daz Newsome, I think Daz Newsome has a shot at starting at the slot here for the Chicago Bears. They took
once
him
he recovers from his injury.
Yeah, he does have a collarbone. Is that right?
He might even have 2.
Well, I think
I know for sure he has 2.
Yeah,
I just don't know if one snapped in half.
I think he had one break a little bit on him. Surgery about 8 weeks, I believe, which would be the return. But yeah, Daz Newsome, great hands. I think he could be the type of guy that you throw him in the slot and he's going to be, that safety blanket across the middle. Cole Kmet, I agree with Doug. He's the tight end to own. David Montgomery, if you go back and look at those last 6 weeks of the season last year for the Bears, it was positive matchups all the way to the end of the season there for David Montgomery, and he took advantage of that. So yeah, if you have the opportunity, now is the time to still get out from David Montgomery, because what we saw at the end of the season last year is not what we should expect from David Montgomery going forward.
Tariq Cohen, any fantasy value?
No, I think a lot of news is coming out that it's not healing right. He just isn't recovering properly. Honestly, the year we saw where he had a ton of targets, I think is that's kind of
it.
Yeah, that's it.
Probably the one.
Khalil Herbert, you guys all know I like him a lot. His tape was good. He's a really good, not great at anything, not a master at one, good at.
He's a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And that CJ Marable they signed undrafted he was what out of school down there in South Carolina, Coast Carolina. He was from Coast Carolina. He's Khalil Herbert light. If you like running backs of that style, CJ Marable's about the same thing. I liked Khalil's tape as well out of Virginia.
I like those little Maribel cheeses, the circular ones.
Yeah.
Is that what those are?
Thank you.
Oh, Baby Bells.
Baby Bells. The laughing
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I mean, Justin Fields, let's think of it this way. They paid Andy Dalton $10 million. The coaching staff is like, they have this year. They need to produce this year. They got the defense set. What do you think they're going to do? Do you think they're going to start Andy Dalton for a long period of time? No, not at all. I mean, Fields gives them so many options on offense. He's going to produce. It doesn't his legs alone are going to make him a top 12 quarterback. I think the value there with Fields right now is still you can still get him for a decent price, because once he starts producing, he's untouchable. He's a young quarterback on Superflex. You're not going to get him. So if you can, go do it now. I know I got an offer from Shane to trade my Fields, and I was like, no, I'm good. I know where this is going. I've read this story before. I don't want to goosebumps my way into holding the page and then having to go back and choose a different route.
Yep.
But
it's like if you traded Kyler Murray before he played, and then you're like, oh yeah, look what I have now.
Oh, I mean, we've all done that. I've done that.
I traded Kyler Murray and Hawkinson for Baker Mayfield in the league.
Yeah. Well, at least you got Hawkinson
Baker's
back.
Rookie year. Yeah.
But
I've had to pay trouble.
I mean, this team could have a different outlook. Montgomery, I think his value is still there. I think he's priced right now. If you want to go buy him, I don't think you're overpaying for him, because I think the haters are still out there. And then I think with his price right now, he's a good RB2, RB3. If he's your RB1, don't trust it. Don't do it. He is for my Scott Fishbowl team. It sucks, but it is what it is. I still like where his value's at. I think he's going to get targets. We saw it with Justin Fields at Ohio State. He does throw to the running back. And yeah, I think Montgomery kind of hit his stride. He's still pretty young. He's 24. I don't think he's hit his prime yet. And personally, I think he started to trust himself. And I think that's what we saw at the end of the year. Yes, easy matchups, but we saw more of what we saw at Iowa State, which we all had a ton of hope for. And we drafted him at 102, 103 in his rookie draft. So maybe the promise has come. You got to flip a coin. You got to trust your process and hope you're right.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that is going to wrap us up for the North. We're going south. We're going down south next week. Is that correct, Tyler?
Yeah, we got to talk about Kyle Pitts.
Yay.
And Paul Wall. And Mike Jones.
Wall.
I want to be wood grain gripping, boys. That's how I roll. I want to listen to some. Was it the Underground Kings? I think they're from the
UGK.
south as well.
Oh,
UGK,
wow.
Yeah. Project Pat. What?
No,
That's
Project Pat. He was not
West
part of
Coast.
UGK.
No,
My wife and I, we listened to a lot of old school music, like in the 90s, early 2000s, like Alanis. We listened to some Matchbox 20. Like it was
is this like your sexy playlist you're trying to share here?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a trigger.
UGK, by the way, is Bun B and Pimp C.
Yeah. And also they won an Oscar. No, that was
That was
who am I
3-6
thinking of?
Mafia.
3-6 Mafia. That's right. They won. They're the ones that won an Oscar. Juicy J. Nah.
There you go.
Getting my groups mixed up here. Anyway, before we go off the rails.
These aren't real. These names aren't real.
These aren't real people. So again, make sure you check out fantasypoints.com. 21 DHH10 is the code that you want to use there. Check out Viridian Global for all your t-shirt needs. It's a summer season. If you need a shirt, if you're going down to the Midwest Expo, this is the place to get it and represent. So make sure you check that out. Also, Trophy Smack, one of the awesome sponsors of the Podathon this year, doing great things in that space. So shout out to Trophy Smack as well, code DHHRing. If you're going to go out and buy a trophy, a grill, a belt, all the things, get a free championship ring along with it with that code. That's going to do it. We're going down south next week, boys. I'm going to put on my bathing suit, jump in the convertible, and go down I-95 where it's nice and warm. Check out the south here on Dynasty Happy Hour.